alternator's bolted up nice and tight. Actually looks pretty solid.
Yeet yeet! Man, that's some rednecky shit right there. Woo! Oh man.
All right, guys, just a quick shout out to the sponsor of this build and this episode, Alaska Backcountry Adventure Tours. They are the best of 2021 sightseeing tours in Palmer, Alaska. They take you out to Knik Glacier on ATVs and side-by-sides. You get to go through all sorts of terrain, rivers, water, mud, rocks, dust, all of those things. It is a great tour. Definitely do the full day. You'll go all the way out to the glacier and be able to check that out. Be able to jump in if you really want to. Guys, check them out. Alaska Backcountry Adventure Tours. Thanks for your sponsorship. Let's go. All right, doing these drum brakes in the back. I've never done drum brakes before, but YouTube University is telling me a lot. But something I have learned, because I have spongy brakes like crazy. And, you know, I test drove it yesterday for the first time. Freaking awesome. But for some reason, we just could not get the brakes to have a nice solid fit when the engine was running, right? We had nice solid brakes when the engine was off, but the moment the booster kicked in, to the floor. So, very, very spongy. Bled them. YouTube University came in clutch. So, looking at these right here, take note. Nice and dry everywhere. Obviously muddy and crap, right? Got to clean that out. But, except right here, all wet, which means that this cylinder is leaking, which then every time I push the brakes, it's gonna suck in just a little bit of air, so it's just not gonna work. So I gotta disassemble this thing and replace this, which kind of sucks. I've never done this before, so it could take a minute. Nonetheless, gonna replace this, re-bleed the brakes, and everything, in theory, should be great. Once I'm done with that, then I'll do the other side, or at least check the other side and see. From what I can tell, it's actually pretty simple to do this, but I'm following all along on a video. Just looked up Squarebody brake drums, and there's lots of videos on that. So I'm not going to make one, but yeah, I'll just give you the update at the end. Yeah, just looking at this, I mean, look at how much crap is on this. I mean, this is just soaking wet, probably brake fluid. Does not look good at all. Definitely moisture in there. Glad I ended up getting those. YouTube University came in clutch. So I'm going to clean all this crap out and then replace this bad boy. It's just 2 bolts right here. Should be good to go. All right, well, this is how dry it should look. So this one is good. I might come back later and replace, just get a whole drum assembly and just replace the whole thing, because they're obviously old and they're not going to be that expensive, and I'd rather just start with all new stuff. So in the nearer future, I think I'm going to just have the whole drum replaced and everything. But for now, to get it driving, make sure the brakes are working and all of that, I'm just gonna have that one replaced, leave this one as is, and bleed these brakes. All right, so I got the solenoid replaced back here, bled the brakes earlier, nothing, still squishy. It was a little better, but still squishy. So what I did was, got a new brake booster installed. That's been a chore. So I'm about to go bench bleed the master cylinder, then I'll hook that up, and hopefully that'll do it. So let's try. All right, today is the first day I feel officially defeated by this thing. I replaced the master cylinder and the brake booster, which the way it's set up, I have to take off the pedal, the connection to the pedal, obviously, the pedal itself, then the booster, well, then the master cylinder, then the booster. So it's quite the process to replace those. Then reinstalled all the new ones, bled the brakes, got all the air out, literally went through a quart and a half of brake fluid, bleeding the brakes, got all the dang air out, all of it. And it's still soft, but we think we narrowed it down. I say we because my buddy that works with me is a very good mechanic, and so he was here helping me, and for just a little bit. This is what we came up with. So as we were testing this, rubber hoses, right? My thought was motorcycles have issues with rubber hoses. Maybe this is the issue. So he had the idea to grip this with vice grips. So he gripped it and it stiffened up the brakes quite a bit. And he did it on both sides. And then he decided to then clamp it up here on both sides, and it was like rock hard. So the brake pedals were solid as heck, solid as hell, holding those at the top of that rubber hose. So what I have coming tomorrow, and by the way, when we push the pedal, those hoses, I mean, if you held them, you'd feel them like move your hand. Like, I mean, they were moving a lot. It was kind of nuts. And we started clamping the bottom, soft. Then he moved one to the top. I pushed it. It was harder. Then he moved the other one to the top, and it was like solid brakes. So we think we narrowed it down to the hoses up front. So I have those coming. I'm going to pick those up tomorrow after work. And hopefully those hoses come apart. Man, the bugs are out right now. Hopefully those hoses come apart, or those brake lines come apart easily. But that's what we're dealing with right now. And I've literally been working on this since like 9 in the morning, because I had to do that freaking solenoid and then all of that crap. I did that today too, which was leaking and all that. So man, it was just a brake day. No pun intended. Braking day for sure. So let's pray, good vibes, that it was just the brake lines. We'll replace those and hope that everything works well. So we're gonna do that, bleed the brakes tomorrow. We'll see you on the next one. Thanks, guys. Appreciate the support. Ho, 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 success! Okay, it is the next day. I obviously did not record all the troubleshooting and all that crap that me and my buddy Will did. So we replaced these lines, right? It was still kind of soft. It was better, significantly better, but still a little soft. Will, if you're watching this, buddy, you're the man. Where this is connected down here, right? This unit, this little makeshift thing. So it was bolted all the way down here. Okay, so this piece was all the way sunk against this. But that would push the pedal. The pedal itself would be like back here, right? So I lost all of this travel right here. So as I was pushing it, it would only go to basically like that point. which is a lot of, like, that's where it actually starts braking decent, right? So I have a little bit of travel, but that's what was here, almost here to the floor. So the trouble was I wasn't getting enough pedal travel to be able to compress the brakes. But I stuck a nut back here and then put this on and drove that on there, which now holds the brake out here and clearly has much more travel before it engages, or before, after it engages to the floor. So significantly more, which it actually feels pretty good. It's still a little bit soft, but thinking, okay, replacing all of that stuff, there's no air in the brakes by any means. It has 37s on it. Obviously, these brakes, these old school brakes, were built for older vehicles with smaller tires, not 37s. That's first off. Secondly, this truck probably weighs an extra 1,000 to 2,000 pounds heavier than the original Chevy did. So that's also going to come into play. So what I need to do now, eventually, probably in the one of the first things that needs to actually be done is to upgrade the brakes on this, right? Either bigger calipers, you know, maybe do instead of drum in the back, use disc brakes in the back. But that's something that's definitely going to need to be figured out with this truck. Other than that, though, it stops. I mean, on gravel, it skids the tires on gravel. I haven't taken it out to the road yet because it's still only on the front drive shaft. But the brake pedal feels good. Sliding the tires on gravel, so it's obviously giving at least some resistance there and a decent amount. So that's great. So I think the problem is solved. So what now, Brady? What are we doing now? We're going to be routing all the wires, buttoning up all the hoses, but we're going to be doing all of that, putting this together so that it can actually get rocking and rolling when I get the drive shaft. And then we also need to paint a couple things, like the shifter. That needs to be painted. That way it doesn't rust. And then I need to figure out how to cover the floor, the big holes in the floor that are in the cab now. Other than that, I think I need to cut a hole a little bit bigger for the four-wheel drive shifter. But then it's just buttoning it up on the interior and putting it all together. Hell, let's go! Okay, so before I get it gets too dark and I forget again, mocking up the front here. Check it out. So essentially that's what it'll look like. I'll have like a, what do you call that? I think it's a Viper cut. I'll cut that bottom part off. So that way the wheel well just looks bigger in general and it doesn't look like it's sticking out so far. I think will look good. So got the hood latch put on and everything tidied up. Let me show you. Okay. Now, all the wiring's out, routed, decent, all through where the transmission cable went. So that nice hole in the firewall. Had the 78 firewall mount for power here. Got my light bar wired up to it. Have this fuse box where the VSA, traction control, and all of that is. That runs part of the interior harness. Part of it. So I just wired that up so it ties in. And then there was this cable that ran all the way along the top, all the way around, and tied in right here. And then came through and came out right here that was connected to the battery. And that would go all the way around because the battery was positioned over here. So I lopped that off, and I just connected a battery cable from here on that 78. Just bought a cable from O'Reilly's and then tied it right into here. I cut that little piece off so it could mount in there. And now that has power, all my interior works. So now I have this, I mean, obviously it's not perfectly held up there, but nonetheless, pretty dang clean wiring going on. Tons of space in here once you get everything cleaned up. Took all the wiring that was over here. That was for the airbag in the front. I still have the airbags on the side mounted. right here. So if that ever happens, hopefully never. Nonetheless, I also did something pretty dang crazy, because usually the wiper fluid container's right here. But if you notice, that is extremely close to the tire here, because it goes like this, right? So very close to the tire. Obviously, if it flexed, it would hit it and break it. And lo and behold, with the battery right here, it literally felt. I remounted the reservoir. So much I've done in such a short time. Washer fluid. I lopped off the top and notched out that section right there. That way, this cap can kind of stay on there a little bit and lock on there. But this actually is for the radiator coolant container from the 78. That ended up working really well. It actually tucked perfectly under the fuse box. I mean, it's almost perfect for it, so it was fantastic. I did drill a hole right here, put a bolt through that, and the hose for the washer fluid right here did have a little bracket right here, a little plastic bracket that I popped out, and I drilled a hole, or just widened the hole so I could put another one of these bolts through it. And just use some nuts to give a spacer, so that way it could stay off the firewall and allow the space for all that stuff. So that's held in there really solid. And then the reservoir, right, the overflow reservoir is down here. It's mounted to the down there on the frame. Just remounted that. And then this here, I need to figure out exactly how I'm going to lock this down. Might just be a strap for the moment. And then I just zip tied the AC out, because I want to still keep AC, but I don't know exactly how that's going to work. But I obviously don't need it right now. Yeah, I'm just kind of zip tied the ABS out of the way. Yeah, so that's kind of what I got going. I got zip tied some power steering, just the kind of wires that were left hanging. Oh, and I tucked all the other wires behind the washer fluid, so those won't go anywhere, get in the way. So it is almost done and completed. That does look pretty good with that fan though, huh? All right, and what I did here, I got the carpet all laid out, have the wiring, have the fan switch that I gotta put in, and the light bar switch. I'm actually gonna put this one in the middle, and the fan switch, this one, I'm gonna put right here. That way they're right here. Oh, and something that is really neat that I figured out is that I'm gonna be able to put my gauges right up in here. And I routed them right behind. There's a little gap in the vents. There's a little gap back there that you can reach your hand up. And so I actually routed those up over. So they're actually gonna be in the correct places. And I'm gonna have the speedometer, the GPS speedometer right in the middle, just like it would be. So it'll have a different look, obviously, but it'll be in the same position right in front of you, and it'll be fantastic. So that's good there. And I have a tachometer as well that I'll be able to fit in there, so that I'll know what RPM this motor's at. But yeah, and then I got the carpet, got it kind of cleaned out down there and painted and whatnot so it doesn't rust, and got this all buttoned back up. So things are starting to come together real quick. Got the 4-wheel drive all cut out perfect, and it works great with this, where this is at. So the next question is, once I get that all buttoned up, is if the center console is actually going to be able to work with this shifter here. So I did end up paint that black, and then I had a little power steering plug that I ended up putting in right here, and it's not going anywhere. So I thought that was a nice little touch with red to kind of match the accents of all this other stuff. It's not the same red, obviously, but I thought it matched enough. And so I just got to button up the fuel lines, make sure those are up out of the way, nice and tight. I did end up doing some rednecking again, just for the moment until I can get the vent on the new tank made. But right now, Got some straps holding this in here nice and firm. That way, at least just driving down the road, it's solid. It ain't going anywhere. But I might keep it this way and keep the trunk just where you fill it, so you have to actually fill it like this. I think that'd be pretty neat once I get the new tank going. Well, that's what it is right there, guys. I mean, so far, it looks basically like it will going down the road. That's gonna be pretty dang crazy. Oh, I was thinking too that I might not even cut these off. I think I'm gonna leave these here like that. Even if I end up moving the tires back a few inches, I'm gonna leave that there because that gives a perfect spot for a winch and a custom bumper that can just wrap around the plastic and the body line. So I can actually keep that bumper on there and then just build one that kind of protects it, which I think would actually look really, really good. So guys, it is almost there. We are almost done with this build. It's been 32 days, and I am pumped that it's almost like actually ready to go. I do have some mud flaps in there that I gotta be able to put on this to keep it street legal. Just waiting for the drive shaft to be made. Hopefully it will be done either tomorrow or the next day, and this week anyways. And it's the 7th right now, so I'm hoping by the 9th it's finished, September 9th. If it is, fantastic. If not, then we'll just be kind of playing a waiting game. But this will be done, I think, by the time I get that drive shaft. I'm excited. Things are going. Finally be able to drive this on the road. I say finally, even though it's only been a month. But it's going to be freaking cool, man. Okay, guys, today we are going to be working on the gauge cluster mounts. I'm gonna do something real simple for now to get it going, just like everything. Wow, I think this cracked screen protector is right over the camera. Yep, it definitely is. Well, sorry about that. Let's try this. The idea is, obviously, the plastic is made to go in there. Boop. I'll just drill 2 holes right here for that gauge to go here. We'll have the speedometer just drilled in right here, and then we'll have the thermostat just drilled in right there. Not a big deal. And then it'll just mount right in, boom, and good to go. All right, so looking at the gauges here, we're gonna have the thermostat here, and then oil pressure gauge right here. Obviously these can rotate around so they can be at whatever angle needed to be before tightening them down. And we are just going to stick this essentially right in here. Something like that. Something like that. It's just gonna sit in there like this. Okay, so that's how they're basically gonna be mounted. You know, until I feel like changing it, but I think they turned out all right. So, be able to see them at night while I'm driving, as long as the steering wheel's right. But that's good. That's solid. And I might put the tachometer like right here or something for now. And then the speedometer will just be right here, hanging down right here. Everything should be groovy. This is essentially what it's going to be today. Mud flaps, and then securing the fuel lines and brake line. That's all I have left before I get the drive shaft. Once I have the drive shaft, bolt that on. Off we go. So, okay, so what I'm gonna be doing is I'm gonna be taking these brackets off, but I'm going to take this top hole, widen it out, and I'm gonna run this rod through it, the square tubing, on both sides, and then I'm just gonna bolt this to the truck. Okay, so what we're gonna be doing here is I notched out this plate like so. It's gonna go around like that, right? Just test fit it and it works fantastic. So we're gonna weld these up and drill the holes. We'll be solid. All right, those are good to go. They don't look all that good, so I'm not gonna show you. I'm just kidding. Only welded a few times, and I'm learning on the job here. So, you know, I just need to make it strong. I mean, it doesn't really have to be that strong to begin with, but strong enough now. And just like that, here we go. Man, it came together. Look at that shit. Dang, look at that. Just look at it. Dude, that actually looks pretty good. So I had to use bolts. What I did after I welded it, I just ran these bolts through it temporarily because I don't have those pins. So I gotta go get some of those. But I think it'll work just fine for what I need it for. It looks good, it looks solid. Can I just point out how big this truck is? Like, it's next to a dump truck right now. And you could basically just talk like normal, almost window to window with this thing. That's so rad. There it is, man. There it is. That looks pretty sweet, not gonna lie. I like it. I like how it turned out. Look at this, guys. What? What? Just look at this. Oh my goodness. What? We're so high right now. I do not have my rear drive shaft, but I'm driving in 4 high right now, so it's just a front wheel drive. Just trying to keep the Honda spirit alive, you know, the Ridgeline spirit, front wheel drive. So I'm not sure, there's a little bit of a rattle coming from the T-case. So I'm not sure exactly what that is. The suspect I have right now is the exhaust pipe because it's right against the heat shield down there. Like right against it. So, and when hitting these bumps, you can hear it. And it's coming from that side. So I'm thinking it might be the exhaust pipe. So we're gonna go check it out. But something that is awesome is that the radiator is working. The fan's working real nice. Been driving around for 10-15 minutes here and it's good to go. Oil pressure's holding steady. Everything's solid so far. So I pulled this in the shop. And after that test drive, and this right here, I mean, it wobbles a little bit, but I mean, everything's kind of moving. Seems like it's a little excessive, so I might want to get that looked at. Nonetheless, when I did that before, these were actually loose. Like, I could twist that with my hand, so I got in here 9/6 or 5/8 and just tighten that right up. For whatever reason, those were not tight, so like at all. It was kind of wild. So just went through and checked all the bolts and all of that, and everything seems to be tight, other than maybe this much play. It just seems like it's kind of excessive, so I'm gonna look that up. Everything else seems really legit. All right, so figured out what the squeaking was and whatnot, at least the squeaking while test driving it. So, excuse me. When we were pulling this over, we were jockeying it around, as you saw in one of the earlier videos. When we got it out of the shop, we started pivoting the back around and we were trying to pick up the front and move it. And when we did that one time, it actually tweaked this frame horn just slightly. You can kind of see how that's angled and straight, right? So because of that, this is in just slightly. And look what I found. I was jumping up on it, found that bushing is broken. So that's what's squeaking. So I just got to get some new leaf spring bushings, and that should go away. But I'm going to pull that out, obviously, prior to doing that, and pull it out, see if I can eliminate the squeaking, and then we'll end up replacing it. So I got to get those ordered tonight. Other than that, I think it's set. I just need the rear drive shaft. The radiator is working fantastic. It is not getting very hot, which is good. I obviously haven't off-roaded it, or I don't even know if that's a word. I haven't taken it off-road, but I also haven't like ridden it hard. But it was at about 190 when I was driving it out, and just moving down the road, it dropped it all the way down to like 140, 150, which totally fine with me. So means it's doing fantastic. And that was without the fan on, by the way. So that was really good. It's like rocking and rolling. Loving this, loving it. And yeah, just buttoning up, cleaning up. Got the whole inside cleaned. Everything's buttoned up. Haven't wiped it down, haven't detailed it, but this is going to have to be made into a center console, which I'm totally fine doing. But everything works in here. All right, so what I'm going to do probably tomorrow is I'm going to bend that frame horn back and then replace those bushings when they come in. I just got to clean up all the mess that I've made over the last month. So let's do it. All right, guys, we're heading into Anchorage to get the drive shaft. Yeah! So I finished everything, cleaned everything yesterday. So it is the next day. And they said that my drive shaft is done. So I'm running in there to grab that. And then I'm going to be calling O'Reilly's real quick to see if they have some leaf spring bushings. Because if they do, knock both those out today. And I will have a driving and moving vehicle that's totally capable. It'll be time for some shakedowns. The first shakedown is just getting to the gas station, though. So it might be a pavement princess for a few days to a couple of weeks, just to make sure all the kinks and everything are fixed before going off-road, because I'd rather break down on the pavement in town than 5 miles off-road like last year. So we're gonna go in, get this drive shaft so we can get this project done. All right, just picked this up from the 6 states. Let's go put this on. Let's go do that. Looks all nice and purty. Not for long, though. Let's hope that this is the right size. Because if it's not, it's gonna suck. But it was only like half the cost I thought it was gonna be. So that's great. Here we go. I got so excited I almost forgot to start filming. I'm gonna be bolting this on here. Well, this fits well, so that is good. That is good. So we'll see if the length is correct. So it looks like it's fitting good. Like perfect. We'll do that, and then we'll get that one in. Okay, it is installed. Time to test drive this right here. It's good to go. And we bent the frame already just before they took the skid steer over there. So we asked them to hurry and bend that back, so that is nice and straight. I'll have this bushing in tomorrow from O'Reilly's and should be good to go. It's time to go test drive. Let's go see if this 2-wheel drive works. Guys, I just want you to see, this is freaking working. Oh my goodness, this thing's freaking driving. What? Oh man, 36 days, man, 36 days. It is September 11th right now, and I started August 5th. Oh man, what an adventure. This is crazy, man. Such a good time. We're gonna be heading to the gas station. I did put a couple gallons in it just in case. But we're gonna head to the gas station. We'll see what kind of reaction we get from people. Hopefully it's good, or at least like attention grabbing. I think it will be. It's freaking unreal. Hopefully I don't get pulled over though, because that would suck. So here we go. We're gonna do this. So I'll see you guys when we get to the gas station. All right, just got to the gas station. Already saw somebody recording the truck. So yeah, it's getting it. So hopefully it takes the channel to a new level. But yeah, if you were the guy in the truck over there that was recording, appreciate it, man. You made my day. First time it's been on the road, so appreciate it, man. Hey guys, I'm excited to have this. I got to work on the steering a little bit. It is a little doesn't quite bind up, but it's not real smooth. I figured it wouldn't be, just with how quick it was put together and stuff. So I got to figure out how to work that. But it is drivable. It's not that bad. It's just not perfectly smooth. So there is a little bit of play. Welcome to having an old GMC or Chevy steering, right? So there's a little bit of play there, but other than that, man, this thing freaking rocks. I'm so stoked. I gotta say, this looks pretty freaking nuts, man. Just sitting out here. So cool. Okay, we're here at the dump to weigh this truck. So who's got guesses? Put them down below. Who's got guesses on how much this is gonna weigh? I'm guessing 6,000 pounds. I didn't know they were gonna tell me right there at the window, otherwise I would have had that recording. They said 5760. So, just under 6,000 pounds. I'm all right with that. Time to upgrade the brakes, baby. Okay, guys, it is official. It survived the shakedown. Drove it 60 miles through town, all around, stops and goes and lights. So at least in the city, it's gonna work. So that's fantastic. I do have to just get the transmission leak looked at. That way it doesn't leak. Other than that though, I should say, I do need to tighten the exhaust pipe over here. I think there's a small little leak. So I gotta tighten that and then make sure there's a hanger on it, because I think it's rattling a little bit. So I think once I get that on, tighten that in, it'll be solid. Got the new air filter. So everything should work great. So I'm excited. Well, guys, I appreciate you following along on the build, and I look forward to more videos with Mr. Chonda. All right, guys, appreciate it. Be sure to like, share, subscribe, and we'll talk to y'all later. We'll see you.